Hey guys, it's wonderful to be here and meet you all. Thanks, Max, for the nice introduction as well. As Max said, currently I'm CEO of a company called Ovid Research. We're working on turning induced pluripotent stem cells into human eggs for fertility purposes. And previously, I used to run Y Combinator Research, which was Y Combinator's research nonprofit. But today, the main thing I'm going to be talking about is Sci-Founders, and specifically this program I've started called Sci-Founder Fellowship, which is really with the goal of helping more scientists start companies than currently are thinking about that type of opportunity. So yeah, planning just to talk through that and the philosophy why we're doing that today. And if there's time at the end, happy to answer a couple questions as well. But yeah, so basically the goal of this program is to help more promising scientists realize they can start companies. Really personally believe that at this point, there's not enough scientists out there that really think about companies as a possible route for pursuing research. I think this is an idea that's really percolated amongst software engineers at this point and hardware engineers, mechanical engineers that are interested in developing technologies that are useful for people. But for whatever reason, scientists, it still seems less common than in other groups to really be thinking, hey, I can go out, start a company, take the research I've been developing for the couple years on my own in an academic context, and actually apply it in a way where one day it could really have translational potential. And I personally think that's a shame, because I think a lot of the types of technologies and research questions that scientists are working on are some of the most important ones. And so really now have the goal of expanding that to be doing something where there's greater potential than what we're currently doing. So we started this program, SciFounder Fellowship, which is a for-profit fellowship program to encourage early career scientists to start companies. The way we're thinking about this is really helping scientists that are either graduate students or postdocs open up the possibility that they too can start companies. And the way we're going about this is we have application processes where we take in applications from scientists and develop a program with them where we work with them for weeks and months over time to really help mentor them and provide them funding so they can really get started. It's a program that's really meant to be taken very seriously. It's for people that can imagine spending 10 years of their lives working on their company. But yeah, for the right fit, we think we can be super helpful. So ideal candidates for this program are people that are either working on themselves and have interesting research questions they've been asking, or small teams of 2 to 3 scientists that know each other already and think there's a high degree of likelihood that they could work well together. We're really looking for at least one member of the team to have signs that they could become a great leader. And it's really okay if it's just even an idea at this point, or if it's something that is somewhat further along that could use more development work. So as a team, we think we're pretty set up to be very helpful for this. I've said some background about me, but the other people working on this are Lucas Harrington, who's co-founder of Mammoth Biosciences, which is a pretty prominent CRISPR company at this point. He co-founded it with Jennifer Doudna. He was a graduate student in her lab. Nish Bhatt, he's one of the co-founders of Color Genomics, which is a population genomics company that's raised a couple $100 million at this point. And then rounding it out is Alex Schubert, who is a PhD from Cambridge that until starting this program was a research fellow at Genentech. So yeah, one of the things that really differentiates us compared to other people working on this program, or other people trying to help scientists start companies, is that we actually have been working on life science companies ourselves. So especially in Silicon Valley, it's a very rare skill set at this point to be having really investors that understand the unique pains of what it's like to be starting a life science company, because these are so different than software companies. I think there's increasingly classes of investors that are happy to be helpful to life science entrepreneurs to the extent they can, and at least provide financial support, but still really don't understand that perspective. You've obviously as well got the people that are more like traditional biotech, Boston style VCs, where they might build the company from scratch and take a huge chunk of it from the start and put in a more professional executive team. But we really believe that some of the best outcomes will be if the scientist founders are actually in control, because rather than just seeing it as a technology, or rather a financialization type of play, they'll be more motivated to really translate the technology and develop it further into the future. So yeah, this slide's just meant to show we're really willing to fund anything in the realm of life sciences, even tools that are supportive of doing life science research, things like software or hardware tools. Really, we try and take an approach where we think most about the founders and how they could have an impact as they're going in their trajectory, rather than having particular theses about certain technologies. So yeah, trying to be very, very open-minded with what we'll consider, because I think a lot of the most impactful things end up being things that weren't necessarily popular consensus-wise when they were first starting out. And in terms of rounding out the structure of the program, it's $400,000 we give teams for roughly 10% of their companies. We do individual office hours and group office hours with teams on a regular basis. Individual office hours on average every 2 weeks. And actually just before this, I was doing group office hours with all the teams we funded in the first batch. So yeah, I think it's a program that people are finding pretty helpful at this point. Welcome to do the program from anywhere in the world. If you want to move to the Bay Area, where most of us are at, happy to have that. That's great. We'll help you find lab space here. But if you think you have everything you need to be doing this from somewhere else in the world, that's totally fine too. And so roughly speaking, we plan to help people for a year. That realistically, we'll continue to help you as long as you're working on your company to the extent we can be helpful. And really, really the biggest goal here is, again, to help inspire more scientists that can believe that they are capable of starting companies that can be really transformational. We really think by having more examples of successful scientists, founders, it'll help catalyze this process of more people going into startups, both starting companies and working at companies with really promising technologies. So that's our goal here. And yeah, that is the extent of my presentation and description of SciFounder Fellowship.